It's Monday, September 15th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. Police hunt for suspects responsible for hate graffiti at synagogues. An overnight fire forces hundreds from an apartment complex.
Lots of sun and little rain this week. Our next chance of showers comes late Thursday into Friday.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. Halifax police officers are patrolling synagogues and other religious buildings after a series of violent symbols and messages were spray painted on city synagogues on the weekend. The incidents are being investigated as hate crimes. CTV's Jesse Thomas has details, and his report does contain offensive images.
This was where the swastika was. Over the
Shar Shalom Synagogue President Joanna Mirsky-Wexler points to where anti-Semitic graffiti was scrawled across the front entrance of their place of worship. It was first noticed early Sunday morning as Hebrew school opened.
Parents coming in to drop their kids off first noticed it and brought it to our attention. I would say that the children, younger children, they've not been exposed to those kinds of hateful symbols before.
The Shar Shalom and the Beth Israel Synagogue, both located on Halifax's Oxford Street, were targeted with violent symbols and false claims. A surveillance camera outside a Jewish institute and residence captured this image, which police released, asking for the public to help identify the individual who they allege is responsible for the graffiti. Halifax Mayor Andy Fillmore called it disgraceful and unacceptable to target places of worship.
People need to be able to worship in peace. They need to feel safe going to their places of worship. Those are community gathering places. They're places of spirituality, and this kind of hate and disruption and disrespect is just not who we are here in Halifax.
The Jewish community feel targeted.
Feels like we're not safe in the city anymore.
The former president of the Atlantic Jewish Council says fear is forcing people to hide their faith.
So they hide or won't wear, for example, the Star of David, the Magen David. They won't wear that. They won't wear anything that discloses or shows that they're Jewish, which again, in 2025 Canada, people have to hide that they're Jewish is just a disgrace.
Halifax Police Chief Don McLean said there were 6 incidents in total, the 3 targeted at the Halifax synagogues, but there were also 3 other incidents of graffiti found on nearby sidewalks. Now, Halifax Police is investigating this as a hate crime, and they're stressing that any anger or hatred directed towards any community group is against the law. Todd.
CTV's Jesse Thomas at police headquarters in downtown Halifax. Hundreds of people are out of their homes tonight after a 4-story apartment complex burned in a fire in Middle Sackville. Fortunately, no one was hurt. CTV's Emma Convey has the latest.
Smoke, sirens, and people scrambling to get out. The last thing families in this apartment building expected to wake up to.
When the alarms went off, I thought they were having one of those false alarms like we had before. But
it was not a drill. Halifax Regional Fire got the call this morning shortly after midnight of a structural fire at 119 Hanwell Drive in Middle Sackville, a 4-story building with 65 units.
The fire was on the outside balconies towards the end of the unit, and then the fire kind of progressed, up the balconies and got into the roof structure, and was kind of ended up being a wind-driven fire, which kind of pushed the fire across the top of the buildings.
Everyone made it out safely with no injuries. About 300 people were evacuated from both the building and surrounding homes last night. In all, 180 are displaced from the building that caught fire. An evacuation center was set up at a nearby recreation center. The order has since been lifted for many, but not for those in this building.
We're just making sure that any of the deep-seated burning is extinguished so that it's safe for our investigators to go in and take a look on what's going on. The other focus after the overhaul is other crews are working on kind of salvage operations.
Halifax Fire says the cause is still being investigated. As it stands, nobody will be getting back into their units anytime soon, if at all. The main worry for some residents is what's next for them.
I have no idea. It's going to be minute to minute, hour to hour, so to speak. We're waiting for insurance companies to call me, which I haven't had anything yet.
Halifax Water has warned many living nearby. Water could be discolored because of the fire. The Salvation Army is looking for donations of essential items to support those displaced by the fire. Todd, I spoke with a number of people who were inside the building at the time of the fire. Many say they actually thought it was a drill until opening their doors and seeing all the smoke. One man told me he was in disbelief by the size of the fire. A common theme among residents, they're just happy everyone made it out alive. Todd.
Yeah, that's certainly the good news. Thank you, Emma, in Middle Sackville. Firefighters in Moncton were busy on the weekend when a tractor trailer full of tires went up in flames. The morning fire near Upper Mountain Road required crews from several Moncton area departments. Roads were closed for several hours.
Tire fires are a little particular because it's a hydrocarbon based, so we had to put a lot of foam. It's a special fire. We call it a Class B fire, but it's not just as easy as wood to put out. So we had to close the road, of course, because we had a lot of vehicle fire trucks going back and forth. So by 12 noon, everything was back to normal traffic-wise.
No injuries were reported or structures damaged in this rather dramatic-looking fire. It was announced today another 17 evacuees are heading back home in Annapolis County. Of course, it's been a very challenging wildfire season here in the region. And while we still don't know what caused some of the fires, historically, most are caused by human activity. CTV's Laura Brown in Fredericton has been looking into how many tickets have been issued. Laura.
That's right, Todd. It has been an incredibly difficult season. We know some homes and structures have been lost in Newfoundland and in Nova Scotia, and that some firefighters have had to be treated for heat stroke. We also know, as you mentioned, that most of these wildfires are likely caused by humans, whether intentionally or unintentionally, which had us wondering, how many of the violators have been found and ticketed? Let's take a look. Each province issues and records fines a little differently. In Nova Scotia, since the burn ban was put in place on July 30th, there have been 22 tickets issued. Each fine is $25,000, totaling over $500,000. In New Brunswick, the Department of Justice and Public Safety provided numbers dating back to the beginning of the year. It's handed out 106 warnings and issued 97 tickets, which start at $172.50. Those infractions can range from violating the burn ban, leaving a fire unattended, and for industrial operations that don't have a permit. And in New Brunswick, if someone is found responsible for starting a fire, they're then responsible for the cost of putting it out, up to $250,000. Now, in both provinces so far, it looks like more fines have been handed out this summer than last. Forest fire season ends in mid to late October. Todd.
Our Laura Brown in Fredericton. There's a live look at Cape Sable Island, Shelburne County, where it is 17 degrees. This is the last week of summer, and we're holding on to the heat and sun today. Kaylin Mitchell.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, fall autumnal equinox coming up on Monday, the 22nd at around 3:19 p.m. our time. So that's equinox, and we'll be headed over into the fall season. Temperatures right now around the Maritimes, mostly sitting in the high teens and the low 20s. Winds are relatively light, and out of the north, they're being sustained mostly between 5 and 15 kilometers per hour, just a little bit breezier than that around eastern areas of Nova Scotia, especially in Cape Breton, where there's some sustained winds near 20, with a few gusts approaching 30 kilometers per hour. Over on satellite and radar, not a lot to show you, and that's going to be the case as we move through tonight and for tomorrow, because it is a large area of high pressure that's moving in from the west, and that's going to be the weather system in place over the next couple of days, so some very fair weather conditions expected. It is holding cloud cover and moisture currently to the south of us. Now, the clear skies for tonight does make it an ideal night for some night sky viewing. As you can see, not much in the way of cloud cover expected for all three maritime provinces. There might be a little bit of patchy fog that that develops during the overnight hours. Things you can see in that night sky, well, actually you don't see much of the moon this evening because it won't be rising above the northeastern horizon until after 2 a.m. It does rise to the planet Jupiter, though. Saturn will be present this evening, though. Once the sun goes down, it'll be above the southeastern horizon. There is a 6-minute pass from the International Space Station at 8:22 p.m. from the west towards the northeast. There was a strong geomagnetic storm this past weekend, so I got some pictures of the aurora. I will have one of those for you at the end of the program for tonight, but those geomagnetic storm conditions are forecast to continue weakening as we move through this evening and tonight, which means the odds of spotting the aurora will be lower compared to those on the weekend, Tom.
Okay, but 8:22 for the space station, that's doable. Thank you.
Yes.
We'll see you later, Kayla. New Brunswick's child advocate is calling out the Holt government, arguing it put children at risk when it instructed school districts to redirect $43 million. That directive saw some districts hand out dozens of layoff notices to librarians, educational assistants, and support workers. It was to make up for the money spent to hire 170 new teachers because of an increase in student population. In his latest report, Kelly Lamrock said Cabinet wasn't properly informed on what those cuts could mean for students.
We've seen 15 years of declining results in the education system. And this is, in my memory, I think the third time a new government has started first with a fiscal rationalization exercise in the budget rather than a what do we need to do for kids exercise.
The province somewhat reversed its decision, finding another $14.5 million to save most of the positions. Lamrock says the department's communication and budgeting are in need of an overhaul. Parliament has resumed with Prime Minister Mark Carney leading his minority Liberal government. Before the fall sitting, he unveiled a $13 billion affordable housing plan. As CTV's Callum Smith tells us, some of that money will build homes in Dartmouth.
Here's an example of a modular home. It's actually the widest single piece we can make. Come on in.
The owner of Maritime Homes says modular builds are the way of the future.
So this is a one-piece modular home. It's 18 feet wide and it's 57 feet long. It's 1,000 square feet.
We've had almost double the inquiries every year since I've started the business, and it just seems to keep going.
They come in all different designs and sizes. His company's homes are ready within about 20 weeks.
You're coming to a modular home builder to get it quicker, to get it built indoors, to get a fixed price, and to get experience.
But he wonders how Ottawa will make good on its commitment. The Prime Minister announced 4,000 new factory-built homes in 6 Canadian communities, including Dartmouth.
I would like to have seen things in the ground by now, but, you know, the future is very bright for Shannon Park.
How many homes or units will be coming to Shannon Park remains to be seen.
I'm expecting houses to be built or to work to be done in there, you know, as soon as 2026.
MP Darren Fisher says speed and affordability are keys, and the province is waiting.
I'd say we are well positioned as a province with a number of companies, including off-site and modular companies that are ready to scale up to build even more homes and faster.
The Nova Scotia Nonprofit Housing Association says people that are in the greatest need of housing are those who need the most affordable spaces and fast.
We could use more than 4,000 units just in Nova Scotia, so and quite a bit more than 4,000. So that tells me that it's probably still going to be a small number of units relative to what the need is.
Trish McCourt says her members are ready and willing to work with government and ensure long-term affordability. Regardless, she's excited this region is on Ottawa's radar. Callum Smith, CTV News, Dartmouth.
Now, one of the items on the agenda for parliamentarians is outstanding Pharmacare deals with the remaining 9 provinces and territories, and that has advocates with one maritime project eager to ink an agreement. CTV's Avery McRae has the details.
Scott McMillan's daughter Rosemary was just 15 months old when she was airlifted from Fredericton to Halifax and diagnosed with type 1 diabetes.
Medicare covered the airlift, the specialist, the hospital stay, everything that saved her life in that moment. But the very next conversation that we had to have was about insurance.
Diabetes is a lifelong condition, and the daily medication, pumps, and monitors cost upwards of $18,000 a year. According to McMillan, it's an area not covered under the nation's universal health care.
This was a moment that we realized that Canada's healthcare system is truly not universal, and the Pharmacare will help complete that.
That's why the New Brunswick Health Coalition has launched a province-wide campaign calling on the province to sign a Pharmacare deal with Ottawa.
Our present system has too many holes in it and leaves too many people behind, and at the end it costs more to our health system. We need change.
To date, PEI, British Columbia, Manitoba, and the Yukon have signed a Pharmacare deal with the feds. Last week, Prime Minister Mark Carney expressed a desire to ink an agreement with the remaining provinces and territories. A deal would cover costs associated with type 1 diabetes and also provide New Brunswickers improved access to contraception.
Everyone, regardless of where you live, what job you have, or what's in your bank account, should have the ability to make autonomous decisions about their health and reproduction.
For people like Scott and his daughter Rosemary, the decision isn't optional.
Medicare saved my daughter, but Pharmacare will keep her alive.
CTV reached out to Premier Susan Holt and Health Minister John Dornan for comment, but did not receive a response by airtime. Meanwhile, New Brunswick Pharmacists Association Executive Director Anne-Marie Pacone told CTV in a statement the national plan would only create more confusion, with 97% of Canadians already having coverage options. Avery McRae, CTV News, St. John.
A little later, we'll bring in our politics analyst, Alex Marlin, to assess the new sitting of Parliament. And for more reporting, visit our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Hearings are underway to determine whether Halifax Water's rate increase request will be approved. The utility is seeking double-digit hikes that would come just months apart if granted. Here's CTV's Jonathan McGuinness.
Halifax Water's rate increase request was put under the microscope today.
Any rate increases must be reasonable.
The application is before the Nova Scotia Regulation and Appeals Board. The utility is asking for 2 increases. The first, by 16.2%, would take effect on January 1st. Then another jump of 17.6% 3 months later on April 1st.
We talked about the idea of rate shock in the hearing, and actually Halifax Water agreed that it constitutes rate shock.
Halifax Water Senior Communications Director says the amount is high, but also necessary to tackle their deficits, which could reach $34 million next year.
In 2020 and again in 2022, we suppressed rates by using surpluses and reserves, accumulated surpluses and reserves.
As presented, this change would increase the average bill by $148 in 2025-2026, and then by $186 in 2026-2027. This type of increase would be difficult for residents to take on. About a dozen people opposing the rate increase rallied outside the hearing.
I'm already on a very tight budget, and I am doing everything in my power to make it work, and this will have a major impact on me.
The executive director of the Rental Housing Providers of Nova Scotia says the rate increase, if approved, will put a strain on landlords too.
Water is only one input on expenses. And, we're going to be confronted with power rate increases, insurance rate increases, and a whole gamut of other increases.
Halifax Water last increased rates by 3.6% in 2023. Todd, this is day 1 of the rate hearing, and in fact, it's still going on here in the offices of the Regulation and Appeals Board behind me. And with a number of interveners scheduled to speak, Todd, this hearing could last a few days.
All right, John, in downtown Halifax.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
One of our most picturesque waterfronts will once again be front and center as Town Council in St. Andrews decides the future of its wharf, a source of much debate. CTV's Nick Moore is in the resort town tonight. Good evening, Nick.
Well, good evening, Todd. Tonight, Council will be voting on whether or not to move ahead with a tender to refurbish the town's wharf, and that is a subject that has strong opinions all around.
We are finally finished.
Now in July, Council voted to proceed with the tendering process for a hybrid steel infill project at Market Wharf. Tonight's Council agenda includes a motion that the town either move forward with awarding Codwell and Ross Limited a tender worth nearly $9.5 million or cancel the tender process because all the bids were over budget. Initially, when Council approved the refurbishment plan, the project was projected to eventually cost roughly $7 million, but the budget is just one subject here. Some residents and business owners have raised concerns about the infill, its design, questioning how it will appear, and how it may affect natural tidal flows, the risk of flooding, and marine ecosystems in the harbor. Now, the town has made note that there is strong interest in this meeting tonight. It will not be held in the council chambers, but instead in the dining room here at the W.C. O'Neill Arena. That meeting set to begin at 1:30. Todd.
Right you are, Nick, and we will have more from St. Andrews by the Sea tomorrow. Thank you. Time for our first break of the newscast on this Monday evening. Still ahead, Kaylin has details of a rather cool and clear night. But first, helping hands and in harmony.
It was unreal. The response was unreal.
We'll go to Annapolis County for a concert to benefit victims of the wildfires. That's next. There were some tense moments at Moncton's Romeo LeBlanc Airport yesterday when a Calgary to Moncton WestJet flight declared an emergency before landing. WestJet reported a mechanical abnormality was the reason. Flight WS408 sent the alert. According to airport officials, emergency services were notified and on standby shortly before the aircraft's scheduled landing. Dieppe and Moncton fire departments were also called to the scene.
So our team responded as expected. They are prepared for these types of situations. They do ongoing training to make sure they can respond effectively and efficiently when needed. So the plane did depart later that evening, so with a slight delay, but it took off from YQM.
The plane landed safely. There were no injuries. A benefit concert in Annapolis County drew a packed crowd yesterday, raising money for people affected by the Long Lake wildfire. CTV's Jesse Thomas was there.
9 bands took the stage to share their music and raise money for those impacted by the Long Lake wildfire. The West Dalhousie Wildfire Benefit Concert was spearheaded by the Lawrencetown and District and Middleton Lions Clubs after members of the Hillbilly Band pitched the idea. Organizers say it all came together quickly and organically.
We thought about it and said, what can we do? So Florine, our bass player, she put it out there on Facebook, and lo and behold, it was unreal. The response was unreal.
They had a list of musicians volunteer, but still needed a venue, and that's where the Lions Club came in.
And they just asked if anybody had a venue that they could do, they would love to do a concert. So I reached right out to her and I said, well, we have a place, the Lawrencetown Fire Hall, that we can hold 300 plus people.
And the people came pouring in, packing the hall and donating to the cause. There were 20 homes destroyed by the wildfire, which is still burning in spots inside the perimeter, which is being held at more than 8,400 hectares. There are people who have lost everything.
This older gentleman, he lives in West Dalhousie, and he told a friend of mine that he had 104 acres of woodlot, and today he has 104 acres of ash. And that was his livelihood.
The province says the fire is being held, but work continues today on the ground and in the air. 5 helicopters, 4 planes, and about 50 DNR firefighters and 20 from Quebec continue to work to get the fire under control. The Lions Club has already raised $11,000, and they hope with the community support to continue to drive that number up. The turnout here was overwhelming.
Oh, the people here is just fantastic when it comes to supporting each other. And whatever it may be.
To support the cause, you can contact the Lawrencetown and District Lions Club. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Lawrencetown, Nova Scotia.
After a cool night, things will warm up again tomorrow. More sun on the way for Tuesday. Kaylin will return with the full maritime forecast next.
Start your morning with us for what you need to start your day. News, weather, and even a little fun. Your Morning Atlantic with Amanda Devison, Crystal Garrett, and Latavia Beezer. Weekdays from 6 to 9 on CTV2 and ctvatlantic.ca.
It was a beautiful afternoon down by the water in Eastern Passage, Nova Scotia, Fisherman's Cove area, and still some tourists lingering around, and what beautiful conditions for them to be visiting us.
Yeah, and around for at least the next couple of days here in the Maritimes. In fact, it's pretty slim pickings for rain this week. Coming up late this week, sort of late Thursday into Friday, there's a chance of a very weak cold front coming into the Maritime region, and that's when we'll sort of have our next more widespread chance of showers in the region. But right now, it just looks like, you know, showery conditions, not that sort of soaking rain that we're still looking for. More on our forecast in a moment. Do want to bring you an update on what's happening in the tropical Atlantic. There is an area being monitored for possible development, actually being given a pretty high chance of developing over the next several days. 90% chance. It's been awfully quiet in the tropical Atlantic over the past couple of weeks. It's a little bit odd considering we are coming up towards what is typically the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. We'll see if something doesn't come out of that over the next few days. Taking a look at weather conditions in the western half of the country, pretty fair weather and through large parts of BC. 18 degrees right now at Vancouver. Into the prairies, it's still on the mild to warm side. 26 degrees at Saskatoon and 22 at Winnipeg. Moving off towards the east, warmer in southwestern Ontario. 26 at Windsor, then 23 Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and Fredericton. Look at that, 23 is all in the line there. 21 at Halifax, 18 at Charlottetown, and 12 degrees right now at St. John's. It is high pressure moving in from the west, so a clear sky expected for the Maritimes tonight. A little bit of patchy fog developing in the overnight hours. That area of high pressure over the region for tomorrow, so Tuesday is going to be sunny. Clear conditions expected to extend into Tuesday evening and Tuesday night. And then on Wednesday, we get a little bit of high cloud cover that'll be increasing from the south of us throughout the day, but still no precipitation in the forecast for Wednesday. Winds in the forecast for tomorrow, a little bit variable in direction around the Maritimes, becoming southwest for New Brunswick and western areas of Nova Scotia, sustained 10 to 20 kilometers per hour, but Tuesday afternoon remaining out of the northeast for both PEI and eastern areas of Nova Scotia. There may be a few gusts between 20 and 40. Most low temperatures tonight, high single digits and low teens. Western areas of New Brunswick a little bit cooler with lows of around 5 to 8 degrees. Highs in the forecast for tomorrow for communities in the north of New Brunswick, up between 21 and 24, including 24 at Edmundston and Miramichi. Down through central and southern areas of New Brunswick, most of the highs 23 to 26 degrees, 26 there for Fredericton, 23 for Moncton in the southeast, 24 for St. John. In Prince Edward Island tomorrow, 22 at O'Leary and 21 at both Summerside and Charlottetown, then 19 at Montague and 18 at Surrey. Cape Breton tomorrow with high temperatures, high teens, low 20s, 19 to 22 degrees. In eastern areas of Nova Scotia, for both the North Shore and the Eastern Shore, the high temperatures in the low 20s. Up around Amherst and Cumberland County for tomorrow, high temperatures mostly 22 to 24 degrees, 24 for Truro and the city centers, Halifax and Dartmouth, 21 at Chester and Lunenburg, near 25 degrees for Liverpool and Shelburne, 22 at Yarmouth. The Annapolis Valley for tomorrow, very sunny day. Most communities with a high temperature of around 24, 25 degrees, 23 at Digby. Taking a look at the 7-day outlook for New Brunswick. Coming up on Wednesday, some increasing high cloud cover, high temperatures around the mid-20s. Chance of showers in northern areas of New Brunswick late in the day on Thursday. Then a further chance of showers in the province Thursday night into Friday as that front moves through. Now, behind that front, start of the weekend is going to be cooler. Highs around the low to mid-teens on Saturday, and then comes back up towards the mid to high teens on Sunday. Monday, a mix of sun and cloud. For Nova Scotia, the outlook coming up on Wednesday, some increasing high cloud cover. High temperatures mid-20s away from the coast, low 20s on the coast. Breezy conditions for Thursday. Scattered showers for Friday, then a sunny start to the upcoming weekend, but temperatures a little bit cooler on Saturday. Sunshine for Sunday, and temperatures warming up into the start of next week. And for Prince Edward Island, mostly sunny conditions on Wednesday, highs near 25. Breezy on Thursday, the mix of sun and cloud, highs near 24. Cools on Friday with some scattered showers. Highs near 15, a little bit cool to start the weekend, but sunshine, 18 degrees for Sunday, and a mix of sun and cloud on Monday, Todd.
All right, very good. We'll see you later for the wake-up weather. Next, we'll talk about the new session of Parliament and what to expect from Ottawa, and Katie will be on the scene. Stay with us.
Okay, so we're back at it tomorrow, giving you a chance to win our $5,000 with Virgin Radio's 5K a day.
Your first keyword coming up with us at 7 a.m.
And we'll have your shot at $100 to Shoppers Drug Matters.
Welcome back. As we said earlier in the newscast, Parliament resumed today following the summer break. Trade, the cost of living, jobs, there's a lot to talk about. So we've connected with Alex Marlin, the Jaroslavsky Chair in Political Trust and Leadership and Politics Professor at Acadia University. It is nice to see you, Alex.
Hi, Todd.
Good to have you here today. We saw Pierre Poilievre and the Prime Minister face each other finally in the House of Commons. It was a little clunky, sort of a feeling out, sort of like heavyweight boxers sizing each other up. Is that typically what we see in the first few days of a term?
Well, you know, the first few days of a term, somebody like me, the students are evaluating us as professors. As far as things go in the House of Commons, it's not that much different. You know, everybody's coming back after a busy summer in different ways, and in some cases they were relaxing because it was very tiring after the election campaign. The thing that I think a lot of us are really looking for is, on the one hand, the dynamics between Mr. Carney and Mr. Poilievre. And of course, the NDP is really going to be a non-factor because they're just not going to have the number of questions that they have in the past. But more than that, I think really is the issues. And so once you get past the sort of how are the people interacting with each other, there's a lot of political issues that are at the fore and a lot of controversial decisions on the way.
Yeah, trade with the U.S. certainly among them, but you're beginning to hear more now about the upcoming budget, still a couple of months away. It's already being telegraphed as an austerity budget. Does the Prime Minister have to start selling it well ahead of its release in November, softening up Canadians?
So he's certainly, it's a good idea for him to do that. And that's absolutely what Paul Martin did as finance minister in the early 1990s, leading up into a 1995 budget that was very, very damaging for a lot of people. The reality here is it's not just Mark Carney who needs to be talking about this. It's all members of the Liberal caucus need to be talking about it, because Mark Carney will not want it all completely on his shoulders. But more than that, it's not just about talking about the fact that there's going to be spending reductions. There's going to be attrition as people leave. Positions are not going to be filled. What they really need to be doing is talking about why. And they need to make sure Canadians understand and are part of the decision-making in that sense, because just to simply say it's about trade, that's not good enough. There's things like spending a lot on defense as part of it as well.
So you've got a budget that's going to be, using their words, austere on one hand, which suggests cuts, reductions. But on the other hand, Carney talks a lot about investments, which is spending. Can you have both?
Yeah, I mean, personally, it's a pet peeve whenever politicians use the word investment, because I just see it as marketing. You know, the reality is it's spending.
Sure.
But the reality is where we are here is, yeah, you can find ways, and this is exactly what Mr. Carney's trying to do. You can find ways and opportunities to trim things, to find efficiencies, to say this isn't working well anymore. It's important and it's good for the public service to be asked to do that every now and then. You know, are there certain legacy programs left over, or things can be done better now with technology? Maybe the population has shifted and their needs have evolved. There's all sorts of opportunities to reduce the amount of money spent on things, even some programs that are not needed anymore. The challenge here is they're borrowing a lot of money already, and the Trudeau government have been borrowing money for years. And so there's not a lot of fiscal firepower left when you're constantly borrowing money and adding to a ballooning debt.
And there's lots of programs, of course, that are in the works. Those have to be paid for. Let me ask you about, the Prime Minister seems to be, lack of a better word, wobbly on the environmental commitments that were made by the previous Liberal government. We've seen him park the EV requirement for now. How far can he steer away from those Trudeau era policies before Liberals, many of whom were cabinet ministers in the last government and now, before they start to balk?
Yeah, and I would add to that commitments to Indigenous peoples as well. The reality is that I think he has a lot of runway. I don't get any sense that Liberals are at all upset with Mark Carney. If anything, in some ways, it's a bit of Justin Trudeau 2015 redux in the sense that they have found a leader who's carried them to the promised land and has delivered a government to them that everybody was expecting would have gone conservative otherwise. There's a lot of respect in Liberal circles and beyond that for Mark Carney. I don't get a sense that he has to worry whatsoever. There may be disagreements. There's obviously some people who are left out of cabinet who aren't going to be happy. There will be people who are leaving, who are going to resign their seats. That's normal. But really, I think Liberals are pretty happy with Mark Carney, and they're going to give him a lot of leeway as we go forward.
Okay. Finally, I can't let you go without asking you about an election set for mid-October in your old stomping grounds in Newfoundland and Labrador. What are you going to be watching for?
Yeah, this is a big situation in Newfoundland and Labrador because they have had a Liberal government since 2015, since Justin Trudeau first became Prime Minister. They are on their third premier. And in this particular case, it's all leaders who are trying to form government, who have not been in a situation where they've had that opportunity before. So what's happening now is we've got a situation where we're going to end up for the first time with a leader who has been elected, who had not previously been elected because Premier Hogan was appointed to the position. So what I'm looking for is the conversation about Muskrat Falls and dealing with the legacy of Churchill Falls in that province and their energy deals. There's a lot of conversation around that. But like anywhere else, there's issues about affordability, crime, housing, etc., that is going to come to the fore.
We will watch that closely as well, no doubt. Alex Marlin, thanks as always. We will see you soon. Appreciate your time.
All right, my pleasure.
We're back in 2 minutes. Stay with us. In our look at health headlines, it turns out certain diabetes medications may do more than lower blood sugar. They could also help some older adults live with cancer longer. CTV's Amanda Debison has more in the Monday edition of The Lifeline.
A study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association's Network Open found that older adults with cancer and type 2 diabetes who took GLP-1 drugs had a 40% lower risk of death compared to those who took DPP-4 inhibitors. Researchers think GLP-1 drugs may help those taking them by lowering blood sugar, helping with weight loss, and supporting the heart and pancreas. The benefits were seen in men and women of different ages, body sizes, and in different types of cancer, including colon, lung, and breast cancer. A new study has found another benefit from the Mediterranean diet. In addition to reducing the risk of gum disease, it reduces the risk for inflammation that leads to chronic disease and dementia. While that may seem like an odd combination, experts say it actually makes scientific sense because gum health is associated with cardiovascular disease and vice versa. Previous studies have found the Mediterranean diet can reduce the risk for diabetes, high cholesterol, dementia, memory loss, depression, and breast cancer. It features simple plant-based cooking with the majority of each meal focused on fruits and vegetables, whole grains, beans and seeds, with a few nuts and a heavy emphasis on extra virgin olive oil. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for The Lifeline.
We're on the scene on this Monday night with Katie Kelly. Get ready to rock.
Yes.
Yeah?
I know you're going to be excited about this one. Live is coming back to Atlantic, Canada for the first time in more than 20 years.
Been a long time.
In celebration of the 35th anniversary of their breakthrough album, Mental Jewelry.
35th? That's impossible.
Live, you remember it like it was yesterday. Live has announced a massive cross-country tour with Canadian rockers Big Breck. The Leica Rolling Thunder Tour will include 2 stops here in the Maritimes, Friday, March 13th at Moncton's Avenir Centre, and Saturday, March 14th at the Scotiabank Centre in Halifax. Tickets go on sale this Friday. I do know this song, Todd, but can't say I was born when that album came out. Sorry.
Let's just move on to the next thing. Big news for fans of Toronto electro-pop duo USS.
Yes, the band has announced a Halifax stop on their upcoming tour. U.S. Sets will take the stage at the Lighthouse Arts Center on January 31st. Fans can expect an electric night filled with high-energy hits and the band's signature mix of rock, electronic, and hip-hop influences. Tickets for this one also on sale Friday.
Oh, lots of music. The next YQM Country Fest, of course, is a year away, but people are starting to get excited about it already.
Are they ever? So the full lineup was announced, in case you missed it, and it's absolutely amazing.
We were coming alive. Yeah, caught up in a southern summer, barefoot blue jean night.
In 2026, country star Jake Owen will perform at YQM in Dieppe. So will Old Dominion, Chad Brownlee, James Barker Band, Madeline Merlot, and so many more huge names in country music. They join previously announced headliners Zach Top, Eric Church, and Post Malone. YQM Country Fest next August 27th to 29th, and that's just a piece of the lineup. The full lineup is now available online. You can find it there.
Old Dominion, very good. The spotlight is shining on Atlantic Canadian filmmakers this week as the Atlantic International Film Festival wrapped up with its award winners.
Yes, so Breton Hannums at the Place of Ghosts took top honors, including Best Atlantic Feature and Best Cinematographer. The powerful story follows two estranged brothers confronting their family's history. Meanwhile, Andy Hines and Adam Baldwin's Little Lorraine also scored big, winning Best Screenwriter, with actor Stephen McHattie honored for his performance. And Sherry White's Blueberry Grunt earned her the award for Best Atlantic Director. This year marks the 45th edition of the festival, celebrating the best in local storytelling and showcasing Atlantic Canadian talent on the big screen. So the Film Fest is still on, still lots of time to see some films. It runs until Wednesday. We featured every single one of these films that I mentioned, and they're all fantastic.
Nicely done.
Yes.
You have the Midas touch.
Yes.
Okay. Anne-Marie?
Can I just mention this really quick?
Go ahead.
I just got the email. I don't know that we even have time for this. I'm sorry, but Anne-Marie has earned #1 on the Canadian country album charts with her new album, Here You Are. This is her first #1 Canadian country album since 1993's Croonin'. So I just had to give Anne-Marie a shout out.
Absolutely.
And speaking of Anne, I'm not going to be here tomorrow night, but we are going to have more on Anne-Marie and her 80th birthday coming up in the scene tomorrow.
Okay, and it was a big night over on the island, the Somo Festival on the weekend, but Hosier last night apparently was fantastic.
I saw a video. That looked amazing, like fantastic. So congratulations to them on a great show.
Thank you very much. We'll be right back.
Mornings with Crash and Sarah Betts.
What are some of the funniest things you've heard your kids ask Alexa or Siri? We'll talk about that tomorrow morning.
Plus, play Beat the Bank, win some money, Cutie Call at 7.
Kaylin, before we get to tonight's photo, I just want to mention to folks that we don't have the business report tonight. It will be back later in the week, though.
Okay.
Take it away.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lovely evening out here, as it is across many parts of the Maritimes. Want to take a look at a viewer picture for tonight, and I mentioned earlier that I had one for you of the aurora, and we're looking at that picture right now. It's a beautiful scene sent in here from Richard Croft. Not only did he capture a little bit of the aurora near the horizon in this picture, but we also have a shooting star. So this was from Middle Sackville, Nova Scotia this past weekend. Middle Sackville for tomorrow, it is sunshine and a high temperature of 23 degrees. Day planner for tomorrow around the Maritime region. Early morning temperatures, mostly high single digits and low teens, so a little bit cool to start the day. You expect that in mid-September, but the afternoon, temperatures above average for this time of the year. They're mostly going to be up into the low to mid-20s, and similar conditions expected on Wednesday. Todd.
All right, thanks, Kaylin. We will see you tomorrow. And finally for us tonight, a die-hard NFL fan has taken his love of his team to a whole new level. Take a look at this. Camden Tataspa, a lifelong Minnesota Vikings fan, combined his love for Lego and football to build a nearly perfect replica of US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. It's a project that took him 2.5 years to finish. The replica stands at 1.2 meters. It's made from more than 15,000 Lego pieces. It even includes a gear-driven mechanism that allows all 5 of the stadium's massive glass doors to swing open in unison. Yes, this is all Lego. It's exactly what happens on each game day that Minnesota plays. Good for him. That is a lot of work. And that is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco has our late news after CTV National tonight, and ctvnewsatlantic.ca has updates anytime. I'm Todd Battis. I hope to see you right back here tomorrow at 6. Good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast.